What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to take a look at the X-Transbots Poulpe and Polpus. They're versions of a Quintesson Prosecutor. So there are actually two different versions of the Prosecutor, and they give you different faces here. There are some other minor differences, but for the main part, that's the difference here on these two. And I'll try to put images, reference images, when we get to that part. They both require some assembly and some installation. I'm going to show you the assembly basically on one of them, and then it's just basically the same in the other. So let's set this guy aside for a second. And thanks to G. Tony and Ricky Gregory, they sent me one of each copy so I could take a look at it at the same time. Appreciate that. So let's get started with the arms. So you get these white pieces. You need to take these tentacles, which are affectionately being called asparagus because they come wrapped together like this. And you're going to take these, you can see they just kind of insert here. There's a straight edge, so obviously line up the straight edge. And then you're going to do that 3 times, obviously, and then they do kind of press fit in here. And then once you put them all in there, you can come to this side and they give you screws. So they actually give you 8 screws, but there's only 6 needed, so there's some extra. So these are going to go into here, and basically you're going to tighten those in. So we'll do that off camera. I'll be right back. All right, and once you have the screws in there, you're going to take this white piece that's going to insert into here. There are little notches there. They're going to go past these pieces here. I wouldn't recommend putting this in and taking it out too many times. I'm going to have to take it out to send it back to the guys that send it to me. But it basically clicks into place and locks on there. All right, so go ahead and do that. I'm going to get it done for all of these arms, but basically it's exactly the same for all of them. All right, and there he is with his arms fully assembled. And since we have a little bit more to go, I'm going to show you just this one for now, and then later we'll bring back the Polpus figure. So next you got to take care of the batteries. So there's 2 battery compartments here, one in the robot itself in the chest and the other in the remote. And the chest one is actually pretty hard to find. It is a very specific battery. It's this rechargeable 10440 3.7 volt lithium ion. If you try to use a AAA, which happens to be very close to the same size, it won't work. You need to use these batteries. So go ahead and take it. And it is different from the original batteries we used. So take off this chest plate. It just pulls right off. There's 2 little tabs here to hold on, so it makes it a little bit easier. Then you're going to take off the screw right here, which is holding this retaining plate. And there's the battery compartment underneath. And you take both of them, and just make sure you put the positive towards that side. And it may come to life, so don't be surprised if it does. Then go ahead and take the retaining plate, put that back on, and replace the chest cover. All right, now that we have the batteries in, we can test and make sure it works before we get to the remote. So there's a little triangular button right there, hidden away, just like they did on Stack. So you push that in, and now it's ready to go. So this button actually activates the different functions. This one's kind of cycles through, whereas the remote, you can choose what function. So if you don't want to use a remote, you could turn it on and press the button. So it does that. He speaks. Let me get these arms not hitting the ground.
Guilty or innocent.
You get the light up feature. Hard to see, but it is lit up. And I'll turn off the lights later so you can see that. So basically you can cycle through everything here.
As the Imperial Magistrate.
Alright, so now let's take care of the remote. And the remote actually is a little bit tougher because this cover is very hard to get off. So it says in the book to grab these little ridges and wiggle it. I find the first time it's really hard to get out. So if you can grab the corner, and that'll help you wiggle it out. And you want to use a specific battery here, the AG4 or LR66 batteries. You can put 3 of them in there, but basically you're going to line them up. Positive is going to go towards the bottom, which was not necessarily intuitive, but go ahead and get the 3 batteries in there. I'm going to do it off camera and use tweezers, but basically you should end up like that. Okay, now we're all set with the remote, so we can use this. You can go ahead and hit the on-off button. And it will shut off. I believe it's after a period of time if you don't use it. So you'll need that to turn it back on. But they do recommend turning off this switch here so that it doesn't drain the batteries over time. So I kind of bent the arms here just so they're out of the way and not knocking stuff over here. So I'll test these buttons. This one switches between tentacles and sounds. This one turns on the lights. And the auto kind of cycles through everything automatically. So let's go ahead and try this one. There's your tentacles.
Has the Imperial Magistrate reached a verdict?
There's your sounds.
Guilty.
And then we'll try the light. There's the lights. And then we'll do auto. And I'll let this cycle through everything so you can hear and see. And I'll actually come in a little closer so you can see how this looks.
Has the Imperial Magistrate reached a verdict? Guilty or innocent? Feed him to the shark robots. Soon you too shall receive your sentence. Before His Imperial Magistrate delivers a verdict, would you like to beg for your lives? It sometimes helps, but not often. Execute them. Has the Imperial Magistrate reached a verdict?
So that's basically everything. Let's turn it off here. And pretty cool combined together. I don't really have a purpose for using them separately. To me, you want the lights and the sounds, everything going to make it the most interesting. But yeah, for details on this one, it's pretty much 100% painted. So you've got this kind of cream gray, the metallic blue here, metallic red for the eyes, metallic green on the sides here and on the body, orange here, yellow here, little red accents. Down here you got that metallic blue with yellow underneath, and then you got that translucent stand QC Pass 03. All right, and here we have Polpus, the other version of the Prosecutor. And it is basically all the same. The arms work the same. They're exactly molded the same way, assembled the same way. The chest is basically the same. The bottom is the same. What's different here is on the back. So the button to turn it on, instead of being a triangle, is this piece here. And then the button to activate it is here. And there is the charging port right here. If you lift this up, there's USB-C. You can plug that in and charge it. I'm not going to do that, but these are rechargeable batteries. So the owners of these figures can actually go and charge. But go ahead and push this in. That makes it activated on. Then we come to the remote here, and I'll do the same thing as I did before. I'll just hit the auto so you can see all the functions at once. And I forgot to mention, by the way, there is a purple light coming down here for kind of like their thrust. So keep an eye out for that as well. So here we go.
Has the Imperial Magistrate reached a verdict? Guilty or innocent? Feed him to the shark robots. Soon you too shall receive your sentence. Before His Imperial Magistrate delivers a verdict, would you like to beg for your lives? It sometimes helps, but not often. Execute them.
So there are the functions. They're basically identical. Same sounds, same sayings, same light up eyes with the mouth opening and these twisting. So really the only difference is the actual face sculpt there. And before I forget, let's go over his articulation. The head is on a ball joint, pretty big ball joint. So it gets you a lot of movement, side to side, down, way down, and pretty far back. So that's pretty good. The mouth is on a joint here, but it's motorized, so you can't really do it by hand. The arms I mentioned earlier are on this bendy wire, so they go up, down, left, right, every direction you'd want. You can actually bring it all the way in like this, if you like. Coming down to here, there is a ratcheted waist rotation. I don't really know what the purpose would be because it's uniform all the way around, but you can do that. So there you go for articulation. And for a quick size comparison, there it is next to the Fans Toys version of Hot Rod and Cup. They are nice and big. They do scale basically the same as Dr. Egg, but here you go for a sense of scale. And we'll also bring in the oversized KO shark, which we haven't gotten from X-Transbots yet, so this is the stand-in for now if you're planning to get their version. But it fits in pretty nicely with those as well. And there's a comparison I think people wanted to see with the Dr. Egg X-Transbots version of the Quintesson Judge. And I do have to admit, they look really nice together. I like how this set turned out overall. For people who are collecting and displaying, this is a kind of a perfect setup here. They do seem a little big to me, at least in my memory, but I might be remembering wrong. I just do feel like these guys should have been smaller. They're almost the same size as the Judge here. Now, since we have this set finally all together, why don't we go into final recommendation on these two guys. So I'm going to give them a 4 out of 5. I'm going to recommend them. The reason I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5, a couple reasons. One is they're kind of big. And it's hard to say whether they're the right size or not for scale. I'm guessing maybe they purposely made them this big. But for me, in my display, because the arms are so big, you really have to carve out a space for these, right? They kind of need their own shelf. The other thing is the price point. So for what they do, they don't really transform. Yeah, I get the lights and sounds, and I kind of had the same complaint with Dr. Egg. Yeah, I really do like the look and the paint and the sculpt, but for something that doesn't transform, I'm not sure it needs to be at this price point. But I think people will be happy with it, and if you're a big fan of this guy, then you're definitely going to like these two. So that's it for this review. Thanks for watching. I'm going to leave you guys with all the lights and sound turned on so you can see how they look together. It'll be a little wild and crazy, but let's turn them all on together.
Execute now, Imperial Magistrate reached a verdict.